Far below the rolling surface of the ocean, past the reach of sunlight, past the last drifting plankton and sinking whale bones, the planet begins to change. The water grows heavier. Sound bends. Time feels different. And then the seafloor drops away, not gently, but sharply, as if the earth itself has been cut open. These are ocean trenches, the deepest places on the planet, where gravity pulls harder, pressure becomes almost unimaginable, and darkness never ends. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to fall into one, knowing there is no bottom in sight for miles? Ocean trenches form where massive slabs of Earth's crust collide. One plate slides beneath another, dragged down by gravity into the mantle below. This slow-motion crash happens over millions of years, carving long, narrow valleys into the seafloor. Some stretch for thousands of kilometers. Some plunge deeper than any mountain is tall. They are not quiet places either. They grind, crack, and shudder, releasing earthquakes that can reshape coastlines far away. Yet most of this violence happens in total silence, hidden beneath kilometers of water. How much of Earth's activity do you think happens without us ever noticing? As depth increases, the ocean becomes a different world. For every 10 meters you descend, pressure increases by the weight of the water above you. At trench depths, that pressure is more than 1,000 times what you feel at sea level. Steel bends, glass shatters. Human lungs would collapse instantly. Even submarines must be built with thick, rounded shells just to survive the descent, and yet, life exists here. Not just barely, but persistently. How does anything survive in a place that seems designed to destroy? The deepest of all trenches lies in the western Pacific Ocean. The Mariana Trench drops so far down that if Mount Everest were placed inside it, its peak would still be buried beneath more than 2 kilometers of water. The lowest point, known as Challenger Deep, is nearly 11 kilometers below the surface. At that depth, the ocean presses in with a force so intense that water itself becomes slightly compressible. Imagine the weight of 50 jumbo jets pressing down on a single square inch. Could you even picture pressure like that? Despite the crushing force, strange life moves through the darkness. Fish without swim bladders drift slowly, their bodies soft and flexible so they do not snap under pressure. Shrimp-like creatures glow faintly, producing their own light in a world where the sun has never reached. Microbes survive by feeding on chemicals leaking from the Earth's crust, not plants or animals. This is life stripped down to its basics. No color, no speed, no waste. What would evolution look like if survival meant becoming almost invisible? The Mariana Trench also hides an uncomfortable truth. At its deepest point, scientists have found traces of plastic, industrial chemicals, and pollutants that were created on land thousands of kilometers away. Even here, at the edge of the planet's physical limits, human activity has left its mark. If pollution can reach the deepest place on Earth, where can it not reach? Not far away lies another giant, the Tonga Trench. It rivals the Mariana in depth, but what makes it unusual is how fast it moves. Here, the Pacific Plate sinks beneath the Australian Plate at one of the fastest rates on Earth. The crust does not simply bend and slide, it plunges. This rapid movement creates powerful earthquakes and sends strange signals through the planet that scientists are still trying to interpret. Gravity measurements above the trench show subtle differences, as if mass is shifting beneath the surface. Could Earth's interior be more fluid than we imagine? Exploration of the Tonga Trench is limited. Robotic probes have only skimmed parts of it, sending back grainy images of steep walls and sediment clouds, drifting like underwater storms. Each descent risks equipment failure. Each mission costs millions. And yet, every glimpse suggests there is far more to be discovered. How many species exist there that no human has ever seen? Further north, near the Philippine Islands, another deep scar cuts into the ocean floor. The Philippine Trench lies beneath one of the most earthquake-prone regions on the planet. Sunquakes here originate far deeper than usual, suggesting forces at work deep in the mantle. The trench walls may hide hydrothermal vents, where superheated water bursts from the crust, carrying minerals and heat into the cold abyss. These vents could support entire ecosystems, isolated from the rest of the ocean. What kinds of life might grow around the heat source buried under kilometers of darkness? Along the edge of Russia and Japan, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench marks another violent boundary. Here, tectonic plates collide with enough force to generate some of the strongest earthquakes ever recorded. The trench experiences sharp changes in temperature and pressure, creating unstable zones where the crust may tear instead of bend. Seismic waves behave strangely here, sometimes reflecting or scattering in unexpected ways. Scientists listening to these signals compare it to hearing echoes in a cave with shifting walls. If the Earth can tear itself apart, what does that mean for the ground we trust beneath our feet? East of Japan lies a trench that changed the world in 2011. The Japan Trench was the source of the massive earthquake and tsunami that devastated coastal communities and triggered a nuclear disaster. When scientists returned to study the trench floor, they found that entire sections had shifted by tens of meters in moments. Debris from land had been dragged into the depths. Bacteria bloomed in the disturbed sediment, feeding on newly exposed chemicals. The trench had not just moved. It had responded. Could the deep ocean be more alive than we think? Stretching along the western edge of South America, the Peru-Chile Trench runs like a scar beside the continent. This trench fuels the rise of the Andes Mountains and produces powerful megathrust earthquakes. Though it is shallower than the Pacific's deepest trenches, it hosts intense pressure zones and strange ecosystems built around cold seeps. Instead of sunlight, life here feeds on methane and sulfur leaking from the seafloor. Worms, clams, and bacteria form communities that look almost alien. If life can thrive without light, what does that say about the possibility of life elsewhere in the universe? As humans descend into these depths using submersibles, they report unsettling sensations. Communication delays stretch longer. Sound behaves oddly, bending and echoing in ways that make distance hard to judge. Instruments drift slightly as pressure affects their internal components. Even timekeeping can be affected, with tiny changes that must be corrected later. The deeper you go, the less reliable your senses become. Would you trust your instruments if they started to disagree with each other in total darkness? Gravity itself behaves differently near trenches. These massive depressions slightly alter Earth's gravitational field. Satellites passing overhead can detect tiny changes, revealing where mass is concentrated or missing beneath the crust. These anomalies help scientists map trenches from space, but they also hint at hidden processes deep below. The Earth is not uniform. It is lumpy, shifting, alive. How stable do you think the planet really is? One of the greatest mysteries is how little we have explored. More people have walked on the moon than have visited the deepest ocean trenches. The trench floor remains mostly unmapped in high resolution. Entire regions exist only as rough sonar outlines. Every mission risks equipment failure, crushing pressure, or permanent loss. And yet, each successful dive reveals something unexpected. New species, new chemical reactions, new questions. Why do we know more about distant planets than about our own ocean floor? There is also the psychological weight of the trenches. Knowing that above you lies kilometers of water creates a sense of isolation unlike anything on land or even in space. There is no quick rescue. No surface to return to if something goes wrong. The darkness is complete. Some researchers describe it as being buried alive beneath the ocean. Could the fear alone change how a person thinks? The trenches remind us that Earth is not finished. If this journey into Earth's deepest shadows sparked even a flicker of curiosity, make sure to like the video so it reaches others who wonder about the unknown. Subscribe for more deep dives into the forces shaping our planet and our place within it.